All right, Women Rock Switzerland. I am so privileged to get to sit together today with Audrey Daumain. Audrey Daumain, parce qu'en fait, elle est française, donc she is from France originally. And we are coming to you live with our fifth edition of Inspired Interviews. I am so excited to get to hear the authors' voices from the Inspired Journeys collective anthology produced by Women Rock Switzerland and Swiss Made Story, which is Esther Burke's delicious company that helps bring author stories to life. Together with Denise Nickerson and myself, we had this great vision, and with 31 collective authors, we've gathered women together so that women would tell their stories, and Audrey is one such woman. And we are so privileged to get to be joined with her. She comes from the finance industry, an over 20-year career built up for the Morgan Stanleys of the world, the National Bank of Abu Dhabi. She was with Edmond de Rothschild private banking. And she's born in France, but she's lived in London, in Chelsea, and all around the world. And she's been in Switzerland now for years. She has two daughters, separated in age, and therefore at various life stages. So she keeps her fingers on the pulse of change. And her story, which is inspired through change, I think is also encapsulating one of her life lessons about resilience and recovery and building from essentially poverty into a life with wealth and impact and contribution, and really supporting humanity at work. So while taking a business high performance coaching mindset in her consultancy called Smart Perspective, she really cares a lot about the human side of that, not only people and culture, but teaming and excellence, something that I know is sweet and dear to my heart too. So Audrey, welcome. I wanted to just start right away and ask you if you wanted to add to that. How'd I do? And give us a little story snapshot, a little bit about what you decided to share in Inspired Journeys.
Oh, thanks for having me. It's great seeing you and being able to share more. You've presented it very beautifully. I don't think I could do this any better. The reason why I wanted to share the story is because I think we need to share our stories to inspire others. It's a very out in the world perspective. It's not to put my story out. It's so people can feel comfort and feel inspiration through it, because my life has been very colorful. I say this a lot. It's an expression that I like using. People say that about me as well as a person, and I think that there's a million ways that we are stronger together, and this was one of the ways that was presented to me. So I'm super glad that I'm part of this book.
So Stronger Together may even, in fact, be one of the themes that we go over today, because also in our pre-call, as we were doing our little sound check, we were talking about just this time period that we're living in, and how precious togetherness is. And coming back together in the workplace has not been handled with an expert hand all of the time. It hasn't been handled with care for people's fears, people's anxieties, people's health and safety, with compassion, with the agility that we expected people to have during COVID times, and that they performed with agility and resilience and creativity, and admirably dealing with caregiving roles, homeschooling roles, pressure of isolation, and then we just say, come back to work. And so I wanted to know if you'd elaborate on that a little bit, about this idea of sticking together more and balancing the humanistic approach that I know both of us work with leaders, but this humanistic approach that we want to see teams better supported and not just it's not a by the way, it is how results are made. So do you want to elaborate on that a little bit? Because we were talking about that, and I think it's highly relevant.
Yeah, I can. There are many things. I think the first thing I would like to share is that we lived something which was unprecedented. We didn't have the experience of it. So on one side, we are super happy and pleased about how the technology supported that. Then on the other side, we are really struggling with the human leftovers issues that we have from this very tough period. And there's an expression that I don't like, that people like using, and I'm always trying to say it in a different way, which is, oh, we want a better work-life balance, but it's not a work-life balance. Work is part of our life. So we can't have life on one side and work on the other side, because otherwise that just means that we don't consider work as part of our life, and therefore it's a bad thing. So with the extraction of people from the workplace and the remote working, what we've done is we have sent, not we as people, but what happens, send this message that your life is important and you shouldn't give work too much importance and you should give more importance to your life. Okay, yes, absolutely. However, work is important and it's part of our life. But this has become completely out of balance now. And in a way, I understand both people who want to work more from home, because, you know, I'm benefiting from this now, for example, sitting here in my office at home with you. But I also understand companies who want to bring togetherness back, so their teams are together and people feel that they are working as one with goals and values and whatsoever. So refinding this balance, not work-life balance, but as, you know, your work being part of your life, is important. And I think we are struggling to do that today.
So I'm reminded of Brene Brown's sign off when she signs off of her. She's now ended all of her podcasts, but when she signed off, she said, "Stay awkward, brave, and kind." And I feel like we don't allow for this awkwardness. We don't communicate an expectation that coming back together may be awkward, that people don't know how to be, that people have forgotten how to look in one another's eyes. That even Zoom for our introverted people was really sometimes too intense.
Very hard.
I can't tell you how many, scientists, high energy physicists, people really, who are truly expert in their fields, but they really preferred to look over here at computer number 2 and not to be directly, it's very confronting, right? And so helping and supporting people to be able to thrive emotionally, so that their intellect and so that their voices can rise, I think is really important. And then coming back to task, the accelerated nature of teams isn't just clarity of goals. It's also handling and understanding. Denise and I produce a statistic that I think is relevant to this conversation. With every meeting we do, we always offer a pre-survey essentially for all participants, and it's anonymous. And we throw in a question that we've been using for the last 4 years. And the question is essentially, of these very difficult challenges below, how many are you facing? And we'll list things like move, or displacement from home, divorce, new chronic illness, or supporting or in a caregiving role for an elder or a child. Like, we'll add, difficult things. But what's decidedly not on that list is inflation, war with Ukraine, the difficult markets, job loss is on there, things like that. And so we ask people, are you experiencing 0 of these, 1 of these, 2 of these, or 3 or more of these? And 67% on average are experiencing 2 or more of those things, not including global pandemic and war with Ukraine and things that sort of are befalling on us all. So then it does come back. So that is a reality check for leaders, but it comes back to, who are you and how do you show up? So with this in mind, I wanted to, your story is such an incredible read through life that embraces change. With a father at 59 and a mother at 19 when you were born, and your mother still living at home with her parents and just wanting to find a way out of a 60 square meter living situation with mom and dad and 4 kids, her being the eldest of 4 and a female. And so therefore perhaps even in a caretaking role at home, and or providing, because you said that she was a secretary already, and how they met and how that happened. And then, him fighting in World War II and then for Vietnam and later, what was his other war? Algeria, yeah, and then getting to meet and work for. I guess he worked for Mitterrand, President Mitterrand, and he also got to meet one of the other individuals beforehand. I forget one of the other presidents. And so, you come from this legacy of change, conflict, expectations. You put a quote from your father in there. The only ones to make it in this world are the best of the best. There's no room for laggards. I wonder if you can frame that for a second for us in terms of how do you feel about that quote today? How does that kind of information seated in your mind inform you today?
Very much so. It has, I would say that for a long time, it was a huge pressure. And it forced me, I forced myself, nobody did. But the pressure of his expectations was such that I thought I had to be somebody I wasn't, or I wanted to be as good as a man could have been. And I'm weighing my words, because he had such expectations from me. And I realized much later that it's just because he was fighting all his life, and he had so many marriages and all these kids, and
your mother was his fourth marriage.
Yeah, fourth marriage that we know of. And so he put everything in me because he knew I was his last chance. Well, then I have another sister who's 5 years younger than me, so, but it was different with her. So everything was put on my shoulders to succeed and to be his pride, and he put all his love, and it was wonderful. I felt very much loved. But there is a huge amount of pressure. So to say to your child from very early, and a girl, there's only room for the best of the best, you just think that, wow, I need to be good at everything. And so I was working hard, and I was very good at school, not because I was working hard and then I had facilities. School was fine, but it was never enough. And then as I grew as a woman, then I didn't know my place anymore. I wasn't too sure if I was doing good enough, if I had to work harder, or did I have a big job or not a big job? And then I had my mom, who was a bit much younger, who worked as a secretary a few years, but like when she met my dad, and then she never worked again. So I had him on one side with this pressure, and then my mom, who was anything but what he wanted me to be.
Very hard not to reject a mother in those contexts. You write it in the book. You write it in the book that she was happy in the kitchen, and you have a rejection tone when you're just like, useless, and she felt useful. So for you, this clash between the parents was really, really pronounced.
Yeah. And it's guided me a lot, because I was fighting against something that was my femininity, really, me as a woman, me as a carer, as somebody who loves and gives, because I wanted to perform. And it took me a long time to realize that they go together, and I can perform and be me and be happy and be a mom.
And you're a mother today, and I'm sure you enjoy certain useful tasks as mother, who is also caregiver and keeper.
I love them. I embrace them totally. And I spend an awful lot of time in the kitchen.
Yeah.
I love cooking, and I feel very, very good in it. But I'm 46 this year, so it's taken me a while.
Yeah, I think healing the mother wound is a thing for many, many girls and women. And I don't. And then you do leave us hanging a little bit in your story, because of course there's a tragedy that occurs in your story, and you don't describe your recovery story. And I won't ask you to do that now. Because I know that you have another book coming out. Do you want to speak about that for just 1 second? Even though we're not at the end, we're at the beginning of this interview. But do you want to tell us? Is this coming out? Is this forthcoming?
Yes, it's coming out. I hope so. It's since the accident, so in 2020, it took me a while to get back to writing. I had to heal first, because I didn't want the writing to be abrupt, and I wanted it to be a full story. And there's a lot that has happened since the crash, with the police, with my life, with work, with it's been very intense. And so the story is short. The book is going to be much more explicit about my youth and the influences that I had, the people that I've met that have been amazing, and then the recovery from the tragedy and the trauma, which has been a very slow journey. And I think I'm still healing, every day. I mean, you never really go back to what you were. It doesn't work like that. But you become, you grow, you change, and you learn. And hopefully you inspire others to do the same and to heal.
And maybe you integrate, you pick up these pieces of yourself. Denise and I were at a conference yesterday that was led by Patricia Elwood, who wrote the introduction to Inspired Journeys, and Susan Tabernigan. These are both Jungian psychoanalysts, amazing elders in our community. Susan delivering a workshop at age 88, and Patricia Elwood being the oldest in our book, over 70. And so just taking time to be with the elders. And you mentioned the soul. So this is why I was thinking about the soul for right now. You mentioned the soul in your story, where you talk about that the body and the soul are in fact one. You had a revelation.
Yeah, I did, because it's this realization is that your soul needs to be fed and it needs to be looked after, and very often we shut it down by doing, and we forget that we need to be. And so by rushing into actions and being the best of the best, whatever that means now, means nothing to me anymore. It leads you astray to, who are you? What's important to you? And very often I jokingly ask, some of the people I work with to describe themselves without talking about their job or their family, and especially their kids. And it's very hard. And they go, well, I don't know what to say. Yeah, but who are we? What's important to us? What are my values? What are my core needs that, are really going to make me happy and not only happy, but at peace with myself? So yes, those two things they go together. Absolutely.
It's so neat. It's wonderful to hear you speak English with such a beautiful, rich British accent, if I may. And I wanted to ask a question we've been asking everybody, but how do you identify culturally?
I would say very badly. Because I was born, because I can't identify properly. I'm at home everywhere that I go, that I feel love. So really, I'm very comfortable. I was born in France. I lived in the UK for 13 years. But I used to go to London to see my best friend Joe every year since I was 11. So as most of my British friends would say, you're the most British non-British person I know. And at heart, I probably am half English. And I love the humor, the culture, I love the people, I love the pub food. I know it's weird. So it's gotten much better over the years. And then, of course, I have my adoptive country, Switzerland. I've been here 13 years, and I love it. I love it. It would take a lot for me to move out of this days. So my heart is a bit everywhere.
This is great. This is great. When you're feeling blocked or stuck, so this is maybe a teaser in your next book, but also just a way you approach life, living, your coaching, your work. But when you are feeling blocked or stuck or stymied, when your inner voice turns negative on you and you start to, I'm imagining that, with your colorful life, that you can spiral down or get unloving towards yourself, like most of us can. How do you turn things around for yourself? Like, what are the steps you take to turn it around? This is my coaching with a coachy question.
I noticed. So first things first, really, really, really pause, breathe. Yeah. Pause, breathe. To me, that is like really important. Like, I don't rush around and do silly things. Like, I've educated my brain really, really to not say, oh, I'm depressed. Oh, the weather's horrible. Oh, things aren't going well. Because the more you do that, you kind of, it's like a stigma. It just stays, it sticks with you. I don't do that. So pause, breathe, really. And then I focus on my favorite word. My clients call me Mrs. Intention. So I focus on my intention. I go, Audrey, what's your intention right now? What's your, deep down, what is it you want? And that really helps me because it refocuses me. And instead of having like my head down, I have my head up. Okay, well, my intention is to, all right. And slowly, little by little, by building the address where I'm going, where I know where I'm going, then I found back the steps to get there instead of getting drowned into the how. And that really works. For me, it works. It resets me.
This is great. And when you are working with people on their intentions and on intentionality, and maybe they haven't thought about that for a while, what is square one? Like, how do you start? How do you contextualize that?
I ask them to not say why at all. I said, go away from the why, because with the why you'll have a because, and I will close the conversation. So that's the first.
That's firm. That's a boundary. That's clear.
No, but it's true. It's very hard to go anywhere with a why, right? It's hard.
Why
The
is important for leverage and motivation, but not
It
when you're
is.
discovering your intentionality. You need to
Exactly.
know. I
Exactly.
agree. Intentionality, you really need a vision. And that doesn't begin with necessarily the why. The why
The
is
why as a
the
purpose is
emotional leverage.
important, but the why as in, why did you do that, will get you, all because I wanted, because that's the only thing I could do, or, you know, it will close it. I think when you go to your intentionality, you're focused on what the result is that you want, and people will go, well, that because it's the right thing to do, and then very gently you usher them to go, okay, well, how come is that the right thing to do? Who told you that it was the right thing to do? And then, you know, is there any other way that we can reach that? And it's very gentle. I always say that I'm dancing with them. You know, we go together and very often they go, well, I never knew that my intention was this. I said, you know, more than likely, there's something else behind, underlying, that's driving you. And then because I do a lot of nonviolent communication, that linked to that will go to, well, actually, I need recognition. I need to be loved.
People will find compassion for themselves.
Yeah. And you know, self-empathy is something that people don't want to hear about, because they, you know, usually we think, as I say we, because I'm the first one to have to remind myself that self-empathy is really important. Yeah. And
powerful.
This intentionality work helps people also, for example, and I'm really with a client at the moment, that's why it's coming to my mind, make the difference between guilt and compassion. You can feel compassionate very deeply for someone, but not feel guilty about what's happening to them.
Yeah, and guilt will never heal, but compassion can.
Exactly.
This is beautiful.
Yeah, that's part of the journey.
I love it. And so with intentionality, let's use your misintentionality. Let's use your forte here. With intentionality, have many of your intentions, as you contributed so meaningfully to Inspired Journeys, and you were among the first to also mobilize our author team to show us images of you signing these books and sending them to the powerful people in your life. Have your intentions been met? Do you want to define what were some of the intentions, and how does it feel to have taken this time to put pen to paper, to write your thoughts, to contribute, to get published, to help us become Amazon bestsellers, and to be here with me now? Yeah,
of course it's been met. My intention was to touch, you know, like go again. I think this beautifully goes around beautifully in what we're saying. I have come across in the past, I know, as pushy, or, you know, is this, bear in mind where I come from and what I've been brought in.
Not my experience.
And yeah, I know, but I'm 46 this year, so, you know, there's another life, but few lives behind me. and when I see, you know, when I see the journey, I realize that sharing my story from an Audrey B perspective and an Audrey Do perspective was part of this of the deal of my life. And so the intention was to share, look, it doesn't happen overnight. This is what I've been through in a few pages. And if I can do it, I know more better than anybody, you can do it too. So this is the first intention. Second intention is to give somebody, when I meet people, I've bought many more books, by the way, since then, because I distribute the love. It's also to promote the other ladies who are in there, you know, the other women who are so inspiring and wonderful, and they've touched me by their stories. So this second intention is being met, because the more books I share, then their stories out there as well. And I suppose the third one is, very often we don't know what to give as a present, right? So we buy a bottle of wine. I still do that, or champagne in my case, because I like champagne. But you know, you give something to a client, but then you also have something meaningful to give to them. It's not just a gift; it's a book gift, and a book with stories that are meaningful. So, I love that. So meeting your needs to touch others and to share and to bring a meaningful gift, I would say, is item 3. And item 2 for you was promoting and touching others, or the fact that you had been touched by these stories of women. We all need to promote the women in our lives and the heroines in our lives more. We know the statistics are abysmal in terms of reading women, and women being promoted, and women getting the book deals, and women being required reading for high school gymnasium.
and college and university students. We know that this needs to improve. And so I think since that's not my domain or yours, all we can do is lead by example and to write and share stories. So thank you for doing your part. What are you working on now, and what's next for you and for Smart Perspective? Like what's coming up?
So many things. I have signed a partnership with a consultancy company last year, because I realized that working on my own, especially in the field that I am, is very tough. And I can't be in two places at the same time, as much as I would like to be in 10 sometimes. And it's taken me a while to really find the right partner to do that. And this company is amazing. They're young, they're successful, they're very advanced technology focused, and they're agnostic of any industry. So they work with luxury industry, they work with banks, they work with healthcare, and what they do is data and artificial intelligence main work. So we complete each other beautifully. I bring the strategic human-centric approach, and they bring the technology behind. So this is a big deal for me, because I have a team of people working with me, promoting me, and I promote them as a combined offer, and it's working beautifully. So I'm super excited about that.
Congratulations. I know it took Denise and I 5.5 years. I was looking for my business partner for 5.5 years, and it took a while also to hook, line, and sinker someone as qualified as Denise. So I know, and then it takes time to come together, right? And to team and to not just do the sales and marketing campaigns around we now work together, but to actually jive and to take time for that human connection. Do you have a top tip on that?
Because we've been working together very fast.
Brand new.
And we've already, engaged on common project together. So we haven't even advertised or marketed that fact that we are together. We need to do that. We will do that at some point.
Or at least celebrate internally. I think that if you've got something that's working and you've come together commercially, don't forget the champagne toast, to press the flesh, as they used to say in the 80s, to shake hands and do that champagne toast and come together. That's always great. Yeah. How do you celebrate? This is a question I don't normally ask, but since we're on the subject, how do you like to celebrate with teams and partners and new people?
I think common projects are a celebration for me. Like, it's concrete. Yeah, it's a concrete way, and we've discussed going out for a meal and a few drinks, and we will do that. I mean, any remotely close to me knows how much I love to party. So yes, we will do that, and I keep my independence, but I have a solid backbone working with me. So this is one of the things, and I'm also working with the FinTech Fair, which is the first financial podcast. To promote, fintechs in Switzerland, and more specifically in the Geneva region. So
beautiful.
Yeah, I've been asked to be their ambassador. So I'm really excited about that, because they are brilliant. So it's going to take some of my time as well as everything else.
Great. This is wonderful. Well, then, tell us the best way to connect with you and to follow your work, because now I'm hearing 3 domains. We already know that we can follow you at smartperspective.ch.
Yeah.
We can connect with you, of course, here in the Facebook group for those who are internal. Others can connect with you on LinkedIn at Audrey Daumain.
Yeah.
Do you want to plug the podcast or your AI data-driven, industry agnostic partner?
Yeah, of course, I can do that. That'd be awesome.
Great. So just mention it in the comments below.
I will.
Super.
Do, yes.
I'm so grateful to have had this time together with you, and I will be looking for your book for sure. And so feel free to share within. And as you have data and tech jobs to help and support, do up-level the game and the playing field, and share and help promote and advocate for women in Women Rock Switzerland. Feel invited to do that. And Audrey, just thank you so much for your time and your energy and your great contribution, and for being here live with us.
It's been amazing. Thank you so much.